The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA's heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.
Hello, and welcome to It's a Fandom Thing. I'm your host, Erin Marlowe, and each week I'm joined by a panel of guests to discuss all things fandom and pop culture, primarily from a female perspective. You'll find everything from fanfic, to cosplay, to Schitt's Creek, to Supernatural, and everything in between. So put on your favorite piece of fandom merch, set aside that fanfic that you're writing about your OTP, and sit back and enjoy this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to this special interview episode of It's a Fandom Thing. In this episode, I'm very excited. I just learned about this event for our local Colorado listeners, this Southern Colorado Women in Horror Festival, which I was just like, wait a minute, there's a Women in Horror Festival going on? And so I was so excited to hear about this that I reached out to KJ Brantley, who is also an author as well. And I'm very, very excited to have her on the show. So first off, welcome, KJ.
Thank you so much, Erin. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And I know this is taking place in Pueblo, and it's this weekend on Saturday, March 28th. And I know everybody's like, well, that's so soon. But yeah, that you can blame me because I just found out about it. But I'm sure there will be other events, and we'll talk about that too. But if you want to let everybody know a little bit about what the Women in Horror Festival is.
Of course. Yes. Thank you. And Erin, it's a little bit on me as well. It was a spur of the moment event, honestly, and sort of a pilot event, but we are very excited about it. The SoCo Women in Horror Fest is a one-day literary horror event. As you mentioned, taking place March 28th, this Saturday. And it's bringing together women writers in the horror genre, and dark fiction for live, in-depth conversations about what it means to read and write horror from a woman-identifying perspective. And so the focus of this event is really on the conversations themselves, but also there are author signings, meet and greets for the in-person guests, but we're not just doing like readings in our panels. We really want to create some space for some honest, thoughtful discussions about the genre and the experiences that shape it. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about it. And I'm excited to dive in, more, if you have any questions for me.
Yeah. And I love that because I think, as someone who's a horror fan, as all our listeners know, that's my favorite genre, always has been. Watched my first horror film. My babysitter showed me Poltergeist when I was like 5, 6 years old. So probably too young, but still it shaped me. And I think still to this day, and I don't know if you agree, there's still a stigma in a way where people don't realize how much women enjoy the genre. Have you found that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. How much we enjoy it. And also that we're, capable of enjoying it and being able to write horror as well. But yeah.
Yeah, especially that writing horror, because I think it's so interesting and I love it that this is about writing and books and novels and stuff. And you don't always see that when you're going to see a festival.
Yeah.
So I know you're a writer yourself. So talk a little bit about like what inspired you to first want to even go into this venture, because putting anything like this on is a lot of work. So,
I mean, this specific venture itself, like horror is another story. I have similar origin stories that I think many of us have, like you mentioned, being young. And honestly, a lot of it, at least for me, starts out with film. So that is a big, horror influence. But I've, always been a reader and drawn to the macabre and Edgar Allan Poe and, Mary Shelley and all that. But this specific event was actually inspired by first of all, March being Women in Horror Month. It's, really exciting, like time to obviously celebrate women writing horror, women in horror film and, anything related. But also, it was kind of an event that I thought would be a fun event, a way to bring something to Southern Colorado that is a literary event that we don't really see as much of as we do in Denver, for example, where I know you're located near. And, it was a combination wanting to support, there's this amazing bookstore here in Pueblo, Colorado called Analog Books, and they have a really cool bar and an amazing coffee shop. And I was like, I thought, first of all, that would be a perfect venue for an in-person spot for this pilot event, to see, if people even relate to it, this topic. And then also there's this amazing female author, Gwendolyn Keist, she's a big, you've probably heard of her. If not, she's really supportive and uplifting of indie horror writers and women in horror. And just, she's an amazing influencer as well in the space. And so she was doing some events and, really trying to champion Women in Horror Month. So she was also kind of a catalyst for, well, why don't we try to do something grassroots here, a little bit of in-person, and try to get some diverse voices to come and speak here in Pueblo, and then also be able to offer this, to anyone around the world if they want to, hear these conversations and they're interested in it.
I love that. And I know that, Southern Colorado does get ignored a lot when it comes to that stuff. So I really love that. And I love shouting out an independent bookstore too, because we desperately need that. And we need to support those organizations as well. So I love that. How did you go about finding authors to take part in the event?
Yeah, that's a great question. And one part about this, I know you mentioned taking on an event like this. I have a bit of a marketing background, 20 so years of event management and also
that helps.
Marketing. Yeah, so it helps. So it's not like running into a cold. So I, trying to just pull this off. So I feel like it's a little bit easier to get something like this going when you do have that experience. And during COVID, especially, I put on a lot of virtual events. So that helped as far as that goes, taking on this endeavor. But, I've been a part of the Horror Writers Association for probably almost 5 years now. And I've been really more involved in the Colorado chapter in the past 2 years, spending a lot of time with these writers and also building my community of writers online. There's an amazing community of horror writers, horror authors online, not just women, non-binary men, that they're really supportive of each other and each other's art. And so they're just a really great community. So it's not, there's not a lot of gatekeeping, I feel like. And so it's been really easy to, just reach out to, some of these women that I see, that I am interested in their perspective, or I really like the work that they're doing. So I tried to just, reach out to women that I thought would really add an interesting perspective to the panels. They had, some maybe a book coming out as well that would be interesting to talk about. And I really want to, balance out the writers that we had so that we could get, a diverse panel of perspectives and voices from, emerging authors who are really talented to rising stars like CJ Lead, and really try to amplify voices that are also left out. I feel like there may be a lot of people that would want to come and see CJ Lead or Erica T. Worth, who is a Colorado author, who's an amazing Indigenous author who is really also supportive of, Colorado and supporting Colorado events and also supporting other women as well. So it was great to get her involved. She's part of the network of the Colorado chapter of the Horror Writers Association, all that. So she's, really involved that way. But I wanted to, make sure that I brought in, an Erica T. Worth, CJ Lead, Haley Pipe, for all of these, these bigger anchors, rising stars or stars in the genre, and then also pair them up with, some more emerging and indie authors as well that I thought have amazing work out there that I would love to amplify their voices along with a bigger name in the genre. And they all were excited about it. All of these authors, all these women authors were very excited about it. CJ Lead has a book coming out, Headlights, I believe in June. And it actually takes place all in Colorado, which is really exciting. And there are some like themes of like the Shining mixed with, wolves and the Colorado landscape. That it just sounds awesome. I'm about to read that soon. And Eric T. Worth's Haunting of Room 904. The setting is in the Brown Palace, one of the most haunted hotels, in Denver. So I think that, a lot of these authors were excited. This is kind of an event that I don't really see has been done before, at least in this way. So I think that's a big draw. It's a way to, amplify women's voices in the genre. But then also I think it's that Colorado, there's a lot of East Coast, West Coast events and not as much here anchored in Colorado, like literary horror events. So yeah, everyone was really excited about participating and it wasn't hard at all to get these women involved.
That's awesome. And I love that it's diverse and it's not just like really highly successful people. And I also appreciate that it's not just like you don't have like just one subgenre. Like you even have people that write splatterpunk, which if people don't know what that is, if you want to tell people a little bit, I mean, that's like for
extreme horror.
Yes, it's extreme. It's extreme. Yeah. It can be really extreme. So if people don't know a little bit about what that is, because I just thought it was interesting to see that there, because that's one that for sure, I think if people think of splatterpunk, they don't think women instantly.
Oh yeah, that's a very good point. Yes, even like slashers as well. Like CJ Lead, she is like if you've read Mayfly. That is a crazy slasher. American Psycho, Americana Psycho, I guess, type of thing. Yeah. And you don't see, people don't typically, or at least some people would say that women don't write those things, or they don't know that women write those things. And of course they do, and that extreme horror, because we're women, we're not weak or demure or just completely driven by our emotions. We have as many, horrific experiences, if not more, than maybe cisgender men do, so obviously those real life experiences we have that we can write about, but we're also, capable of, channeling grief, rage, fear, just our macabre interest into something horrific or darker, like just as much as, a man can.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too often a lot of society, especially it's the heteronormative, cisgendered, like the roles that, right. Men do this role and women do this role.
Exactly.
And I think it's a lot of that kind of thinking. And I think in some parts it's changing. Like I know people are getting a little bit more voices, but I think in the writing world, it's not as big or not as strong. And that's as far as like getting attention, not that it's not there, but getting the attention.
Yeah. And that's still, I think, I could be reading into this a little bit myself because it's not like anyone has said to me this specifically about this SoCo Women in Horror Fest event. But even putting on an event like this, you do see obviously a lot more, even in Women in Horror Month, you see a lot more championing of these things or a lot more interest from women, wanting to participate rather than like the cisgender men. And I am curious, like I've pondered about, why that is exactly. I mean, I have some hunches, but there still is that thing like this is a female thing, this is a woman thing, this is a man's thing, so it's almost like I still think there is that barrier of, oh, this is woman's horror, this isn't horror, like this is a woman's perspective on horror, so why would this be relevant to me, so that's another thing. I think like the point of these events and the Women in Horror Month is like is trying to push back against that thought.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And a little bit going back a little bit to what you were talking about women and people who identify as women experiencing their own horror in real life, and how I think, for me at least, that horror is very therapeutic and a way to really deal with that trauma. And I'm not asking you to go into any kind of personal trauma or anything, but do you feel that's the case? Like with a lot of writing you've either read or even written or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why I really think, I think that you should definitely, anyone interested in exploring those topics and seeing how all of these different talented women authors that are going to be on our panels. So one of the panels is why women love horror, exploring why so many women are drawn to horror in the first place, like whether that is catharsis, identification, like they identify with, the either the monster or the final girl, how does that speak to their own identity, exploring power, or like, is it something more complicated? And like dealing with trauma, catharsis. Like the other panel is like the horror of being seen. So again, about identity, like exposure and survival. Like it looks at how identity intersects with horror, both on the page and in real life, and what it means to be like visible, vulnerable, both like, even as a rising star, for example, in the genre, but also when you're creating art within the genre. So I think that's a question that I think will be really deeply explored in our event. As I mentioned, it's not just like, it's not promoting their books, although we'll talk about their books for sure, but, exploring those questions, because I do see that. I do think, like for me personally, I think horror is cathartic. I think, it's a way, that's why you see that rise in like female rage as a theme in books. It's pushing back on the patriarch and gender normative roles. And, it's also a way, I think, so there's that side of it, that rebellion against these things. And then, yeah, catharsis, like my debut novel that's in edits right now. I can't talk about the title or anything yet, but it's exploring like themes of motherhood and the horror of motherhood, like even like, like C-sections and, this trauma, this real trauma you experience even in giving birth or as a mother. There's a lot of horror dealing with, SA, and I think that can be cathartic for someone who's experienced that. Laurel Hightower is one of my favorite women authors, and she explores grief really well through her re-release of Crossroads is coming out in April, and that one, explores grief. So if you've lost someone, I think it's a great way to explore those emotions that sometimes, people are like, oh, after a certain amount of time, just get over it, but, and you're sitting there living with those emotions. But yeah, so absolutely. I think that, and I think that on our panels will be really interesting to see other women authors' perspectives on that.
Yeah, I love all those panel ideas, by the way, just absolutely all those panels that are coming up. It's just great and wonderful because, yeah, I do, personally, it has been for me very cathartic, like watching out horror. And I think you can relate sometimes to both the final girl and then like the monster at the same time. I think there can be times when you do, and especially I think if you feel like you don't fit in, quote unquote, fit into the normal world or whatever,
Yep.
It can be cathartic to see somebody who doesn't fit into the normal world, like almost gain power. I think that too.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't know about you, but I like keeping my money where I can see it. Unfortunately, traditional, quote, big wireless carriers also seem to like keeping my money too. After years of overpaying for wireless, I finally got fed up with crazy high wireless bills, bogus fees, and those, quote, free perks that actually cost more in the long run, and switched to Mint Mobile. With premium wireless plans starting at just $15 a month, you could be saving so much money. Since I switched, I'm saving over half of what I used to pay. With those other carriers, I was never sure if I was going to have that 5G coverage because sometimes I'd be in the middle of watching something, I'd lose connection, I'd walk a block away, and all of a sudden, 5G network, poof, gone. But since switching to Mint Mobile, I no longer have to worry about that because all plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. So stop overpaying for wireless just because that's how it's always been. Mint exists purely to fix that. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. Bring your own phone and number. You can activate with eSIM in minutes and start saving immediately. No long-term contracts, no hassle. So ditch overpriced wireless and get 3 months of premium wireless service from Mint Mobile for $15 a month. I use this and you should too. If you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/fandom. That's mintmobile.com/fandom. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month 5GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra, see Mint Mobile for details. What other events do you have coming up like that you're planning? I know there's something like with camping, right? Like a camping event coming up?
So our presenting sponsor is Creepaway Camp, and that's put on by Broom Book and Candle. And you should check them out on Instagram. They have a website as well, but it's broombookcandle.com. And I think that's also the Instagram handle as well. But Amanda Schaefer, she runs that, and she is putting on this amazing event, Creepaway Camp. It's at the end of June, and I'll be going to that as well. I'm representing myself as well as the SoCo Women in Horror Fest, because we do plan to do this again next year at a bigger scale and more in-person authors and events. But yes, Creepaway Camp will be in Colorado Springs. It'll be for 4 days, 3 nights. You get to camp in yurts. They have lodging and they have food. And yeah, it's like pretty, pretty cool. Kind of sort of an adult summer camp for horror fans. But, and if you're like me, I actually did, I wasn't the more athletic type, so I'd probably be the one watching the games, but you can participate in some really cool games that they have going on during the time. And then there'll be chances to buy books, like a book fair going on, some vendors. And then at the end of each night, hosted by the Talk Scared podcast with Nick Roberts, he and the other authors, it'll be Rachel Harrison, Nat Cassidy, RJ Joseph, just CJ Lead, and like so many other amazing authors in person at this event will be, telling the campfire stories. So if you can imagine professional horror authors telling your ghost stories at this adult camp, sounds pretty amazing to me. So yeah, with that event though, partnering with the SoCo Women in Horror Fest, if you purchase a registration we're sold out of the in-person, but if you purchase a registration for the live stream, you'll be entered to win a giveaway or entered into a giveaway to win a free registration for the entire camp, including lodging and meals and all of that, which is honestly, and your odds are still, pretty good, I think, if you enter for that right now. And then you would also get a 15% discount to Creepaway Camp as well. So if you want to purchase your tickets now to make sure that it doesn't sell out, you can also, purchase your registration to Creepaway Camp for 15% off the price. And it is for the whole, 4 days, 3 nights. It's a value of about $1,300. So that's a nice savings there and also a nice chance to win.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I love that you're already planning to expand this event and into next year too, and also making it larger. So are you looking at like possibly doing it like over a full weekend then?
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. So I was actually surprised by the interest taken into this event. Like the attention and the interest was I thought people would be interested. Obviously, that's why decided to organize it. I was like, this would be a cool event, but just the amount of interest made me realize, that there really is a demand for it and that we could really do a lot more with it. So for next year, I definitely think it'll be, a weekend 2-day event rather than just the one day. And, I plan to start planning after this one is finished and we wrap this one up. I definitely think, planning to have more in-person authors, maybe some film makers and screenwriters, but definitely still trying to keep the focus on the literary aspect the most, and bringing in maybe some vendors and some really cool, maybe a keynote speaker or two.
Awesome. Well, that is so exciting. Really, really, just really exciting. And I know people that would love this, people that love literature as well, just would be like, just would eat this up. So I really, really, really wish you so much success with this. And I know you can't talk about your novel, but I wish you success with that as well. But I did want to know, because it's one of my favorite things to ask anybody, and as much as you want to share through planning this event or even meeting people or anything like that, what did you learn about yourself as like an artist or even like a lover of horror or anything like that?
Oh, that's a so in planning this event within this event specifically, would you say?
Yeah, and whatever you feel comfortable
Hmm.
sharing. You don't have to get too personal, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Uh, I think one thing that I really, because I'm an emerging artist, author myself, I don't even have my book out yet. I think something that I learned a lot more about was balancing working on your art and having to market that art. So and then, yeah, like I've had to complete edits this week to turn into my developmental editor and just balancing that, trying to work on my art and getting my book out into the world while also putting on this event and marketing it and then still trying to market myself as well and network with people. And so just, admiring, I've seen Clay McLeod Chapman. I know we're plugging women this month, but I love Clay McLeod Chapman. I think he's so talented. I love his work and his humor as well. But he's posted a lot about balancing that, balancing just what I talked about and being, how do you, especially as you grow, like even the attention that this event has gotten, how do you balance all of that, while also still, maintaining your own sense of self and your own peace, and then also being able to work on your art with fidelity as well. So I suppose I just learned that is a challenge that I'm going to have to, face if I want to bring my baby out to the world, my book. And yeah, just start thinking about how I'm going to approach that now.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And KJ, if you want to just let everybody know where they can find out information, where they can follow you to keep tabs on like your upcoming novel and everything.
Absolutely. So yes, you can find me on Instagram mostly and Threads at author KJ Brantley, Brantley. And you can also find my event on Instagram at Women in Horror Festival Co. And yeah, that's where you can find me for now. I'm working on updating my website. So yeah, feel free to DM me and follow me to find out more about my upcoming novel, as well as all the latest news on the Women in Horror Fest. If you want to register for the SoCo Women in Horror Fest, there's only a few more days left for this year, but you can still register for the live stream. And the link is in the bio on the Instagram, but you can also go to Analog Pueblo, Pueblo.com. And there is a page there for the event page to sign up. So yeah, please join us there. We'd love to welcome you into these amazing conversations with these amazing, like talented women in horror. So thank you. Thanks, Erin.
Thank you. Wonderful. And I will put a link in the show notes, everybody. So you can click there, easy access there too. So thank you again, KJ. I really appreciate you speaking with me. And once again, I wish you nothing but the best for this. I think it's amazing. And so thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you again to KJ for sitting down and speaking with me about the upcoming SoCo Women in Horror Festival. Once again, please click the link in the show notes to find out more information. Go give KJ and the SoCo Women in Horror Festival a follow on Instagram as well. If you would like to be a potential interview guest on the show, head on over to our website. It's afandomthingpod.com and click the contact us button there. And that'll shoot me an email and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you again for listening. And thank you again to KJ. And I hope everybody has a good day. Take care of yourselves. Thank you.